I'm Sandeep Tripathi, co-founder of Your Engineer, and today in this speaker session at KoinX, I have Punit Agarwal with me. Welcome, Punit. Punit is the founder of KoinX. He is the leader in blockchain industry. He is working with in past 5 years in the blockchain industry and has a lot of expertise in blockchain applications, how blockchain is being regulated all over the industry, all over the businesses, and how the whole ecosystem of blockchain works. He's quite expert into that thing. So welcome, Puneet. Welcome, and we are here for an insightful session on blockchain here.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks for inviting in. And I think it's indeed a pleasure to be here and to be able to share my insights and thoughts with fellow engineers. So yeah, really interested to be here.
Great. Okay, Puneet. So let's begin with the blockchain. First of all, for the people who don't have a very good exposure about blockchain, can you introduce like what is the blockchain?
Sure. So blockchain is, like in simple language, if I have to take a reference with Google Sheets. So let's say all of us uses Google Sheets, in order to make in order to make like Excel documents and basically work on numbers. So if I take a reference of Google Sheet and blockchain and try to understand and help what blockchain is. So in Google Sheet, like you are updating something on a real-time basis, and you can share your file with multiple people across. So in a way, it is distributed. A lot of people can collaborate and work on a similar document, and one document acts as a source of truth. So you can exactly see who is changing in what, and all of the information lies at like one like platform altogether. So it's basically a record which is distributed and anyone can access it real time, or using that particular link or a file. But in blockchain, what additional it brings on top of it is, in Google Sheet, like the data is hosted at Google. So Google servers is where the data is hosted in. But in blockchain, every one of us have a copy of that data. So it's not only like available, in a way that anyone can see what has been changed. There is a version history that comes with it. So if I today make any changes, you tomorrow would be able to see what changes did I made in the particular document. But the change that we are bringing in is it is now accessible with everyone. So if I summarize what blockchain is, it is nothing but something that is immutable. Immutable as in you can see what has been changed. You cannot edit something and remove that as from history. So you would always know what changes were there. So there would always be a version control of it. And it is distributed. So all the people in the network, if there are 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, all of them have access to that particular file. And it is basically a ledger and it's a group of transactions. So that is, primarily how I would call blockchain as. So in summarizing in 3 words, it is a ledger that is distributed and is immutable.
Okay. So in the Google Sheet, suppose Google's shared Google Sheet and the blockchain ledger. So what can be the very basic level difference? I mean, if the shared Google Sheet is there, many people can participate in the editing and all. And in blockchain also the transparency is the same. So what's the difference between those things?
The major difference is where the data is hosted. So tomorrow, let's say Google can decide to close the product of Google Sheet and all of your data is lost. But in blockchain, if one server, the data is not on one server, it is on multiple platforms. So even if let's say two systems, 5, 10, break down, you can always back up the entire information from the other peers in the network. So I think this is one major difference, that is in, centralized systems versus decentralized, wherein instead of one person having an access to all of the data, like here the data is distributed.
Fine. So why do you think that we needed blockchain in the first place? I mean, Google was doing all those things. They were releasing Google Sheets, Microsoft releasing Excel. People were installing software. Everything was going good. Why suddenly we thought that okay, we should develop a technology like that to be more transparent, to be more decentralized. Why was the need of it? I mean, can we go back a little bit into history and see that?
Sure. So the idea of internet was information and like everything being accessible to people at one place. but people could not trust in, two unknown faces which are being communicated on an internet. That is where centralized or companies came in that said that, hey, you do not need to trust the end person, but we as a company, you can trust us. So for example, I don't have to trust my Ola driver. I trust Ola as a company, and then I'm booking cab services on Ola because Ola is there in between to, help me in case if anything goes wrong. So what happened is, with this coming into picture, uh, it started creating a disparity between organizations, and the big started becoming in much bigger, and they started controlling. The idea was they came in to gain the trust, but once they haven't trust, they started misusing that, and now they start controlling what I see. So e-commerce, if I go on any e-commerce company, if I want to buy something, let's say if I want to buy a water bottle, uh, it is not that everyone has a fair chance to be listed and the one who is doing actually good gets on the first place. But the one that Amazon or any e-commerce company wants to be shown, they are listed on the first place. Similarly, if you want to book a cab, it need not be necessarily that 20 people are in the same location looking for the cab, and hence the prices of the cab is surge. It might be that since your battery on the phone is less, and since you're like, let's say, in an urgent need, then these companies try to utilize that and give you surge pricing, even if there are no actually surge demand, or no actually surge in the demand in that particular location. Similarly, if you start looking at like Instagram, Facebook, you do not like, you in a way think that you are controlling what you're seeing, but you're not. Like, it's becoming kind of an addictive scenario where uh, algorithms decide or look at your patterns, and they started recommending you content that you would be more hooked towards. So this is where I think, like, the trust gap started coming in, and people, like the people who uh, saw this era, they found that this is not what the internet that we aimed in for and what we wanted in for. And that's how blockchain came in, where the idea is, like, while the information is spread across, while there is, like, people that can be communicated across anywhere, but I do not need an intermediate to trust the other person. Basically, I should trust the system. Like, today I need an intermediate because I cannot trust you directly, but let's say tomorrow, if I can, I not need to trust the Ola driver. I just need to trust the system that, okay, if I book a cab, I will get a cab and I am going to my place. So since now that layer of trust, like, it was a natural progression, I believe, like, without companies like Ola, we would not have thought of Web 3.0. Web 2.0 had to exist in order to think of Web 3.0. So now with Web 2.0, we know that we can trust, like, some sort of a scenario like this, and we can now bring in, like, talk to random people, get on a random cab, order from a random shop, and, like, some random person comes in and delivers it to my place, and we are okay with this scenario. But we now are looking at, can we replace the intermediaries in between, and can we directly trust in the system? Can we trust the code, or can we trust the entire system altogether, so that we know this is how it works and everything happens in this way? So this is where blockchain comes in, where, the idea of decentralization and the idea of, like, transparency is, you do not need an intermediate to trust. You basically trust on your system altogether, and you just need to trust the code base and the algorithms that work on. You not even need to know the algorithms as a layman person, but you just trust the system and everything else happens. So it's creating a trustless, scenario.
So our topic was like, is it still relevant? I mean, in the last year, everyone was talking about blockchain, Web3, and crypto. There were a lot of startups opening up in blockchain, and people were started providing the trading services into become a blockchain developer, learn smart contracts, and all those things. Like, but suddenly, as soon as the ChatGPT launches, everyone just shifted towards the AI, and blockchain is like it's out of the trend. No one is still talking about it. I mean, very less people will be there. It's not trending as a hashtag. It's neither trending on the LinkedIn. So, whether the students or the professionals who are looking for their careers ahead, or the people who tries to make a business. So let's get to the topic and then let's move to the next agenda. So is it still relevant that yes, blockchain will be relevant in the future?
Sure. So I think uh, none of the technology can exist in its independence. For example, for AI to exist, it needs data. Like it needs data to be predictable on or to learn and like to analyze and then to predict what can happen in. For data to come in, it need IoT systems that can act and as like points that can start capturing in data either through let's say smart devices, either through like sensors and all. And where does this data lie? So you need a server kind of a scenario where all of this data lies in, and that's where the database and the blockchain set of scenario comes in, where you can store this data in a transparent fashion, and that can act as a backbone to this entire setup. So while AI is currently on trend with like because people have started exploring the use cases, they're actually able to now see that a lot of mundane tasks which we used to do in can now be replaced and everything can be done automatically. So that is the short-term trend that is happening in, but with time people will be used to it and would start like gone would be the days when manual work used to happen and now all of those things can be automated down. But uh, blockchain, IoT, and like machine learning, AI, or the entire data science altogether would be working hand in hand. And like these three would be the core elements of any like application that would be coming in future. And in terms of the use cases and the businesses, I think one of the biggest like user or adopter of blockchain is Indian government. And the number of use cases that we see by Indian government around blockchain is like numerous use cases, and the way that it can impact the public systems, the public good, and like bringing in transparency, bringing in efficiency is like like it is not even comparable with the existing technologies. To give you some examples, I like usually talk about this example when I'm explaining and about the use cases of blockchain. This is a use case that has happened in very long back, around 5 years back in 2018, where Walmart, a company which is very popular in the Western world, is like they are basically like like our big bazaars or the Reliance stores, Reliance Fresh, to give you an example, like these are supermarkets in America, and like they are set up there, and they do sell every of like to FMCG, to like your fruits, vegetables, and everything in their shops. So the way Walmart works is they procure everything, in house, and they like take care of the entire logistics until it is live at the retail store. And let's say this example is what they did it for mangoes, when they started using blockchain, and like right from the plucking of mangoes at the farm to like these mangoes being sold in the retail fashion in their outlets, they track all of this thing. And one fine day, like let's say like the mango that was present in the retail shop was like it got rotten, and they start figuring out where did things went wrong, like why did this mango got rotten in the retail shop, and why was it not like why it not made like why was it not ripen enough, or why wasn't not perfect enough. And usually without the blockchain, when they used to do it, even then the mangoes used to get rotten. And during those scenarios, uh, they used to take about 6 days, 20 hours, somewhere around that time, in order to find like where did it actually went in wrong. But when they started using blockchain and they started looking at where things went in wrong, any guesses, guys, like how much time would have been reduced from 6 days, 20 hours to now? Like what could be the time, for Walmart to figure out where did actually things went wrong? Any guesses? Like, do you think the time would have increased, decreased? If decreased, how much? If increased, how much? Like you can put it on chat one day. Okay, Sanjeet says it one day. Others, any guesses, guys? Let's keep it interactive so that like
Any
I know
cases,
we can.
Mohit? Any cases, Rohan? Any time frame do you think? How much time Walmart would have figured it out?
Cool. So the time that they reduced was 6 seconds. So like within 6 seconds, they were able to identify where did it actually went in wrong. So what took in 6 days, 20 hours without a blockchain infra coming in, with blockchain it was 6 seconds. So now you can understand about the efficiency and the accuracy and like the speed through which the tasks could be done, and through which like you can query in your systems and you can understand where actually things went in wrong. So this is like one example which businesses have started exploring in down, and supply chain is a very classic example in blockchain. And the role of blockchain in the entire supply chain industry is pretty amazing. So this is like one scenario. Then comes in about payments. For example, now if I have to transfer a fund to let's say my friend in California, it might take 4 hours to 7 days for the funds to be reflected at his end. But like with blockchain coming in into place, like how we transact on UPI, we just scan and real at the very real time the payment gets transferred. Similar of a setup could be done with international payments. So now let's say you can just scan your code of your friend, and instantly at the very second the fund gets transferred to him. So this is something that blockchain can bring into picture in terms of like cross border payments. And again, this can help in exports, imports, and like the entire industry there. So there are immense use cases of blockchain in the insurance industries, in the certificates industry. Let's say all of us, like I believe are students here. So in your colleges, you get your grade sheets, you get your like basically your mark sheets and all. And anyone can tamper this down. So like I can, for example, make a duplicate of it and enter some other marks, or I can tamper it down, or I can like play with the systems in place and try to generate an like a fake certificate or a fake report. But with blockchain, like you can have the authenticity maintained, and anyone can basically verify whether this particular certificate was given by that particular institute or not. And again, this for this they do not have to call the institute, ask whether this was
It's a
done.
long
There's
process.
no need of
Yeah.
employee background verification or any sort of background verification manually. But with blockchain, you can just visit a link, a URL, and you're able to capture whether like the whether the certificate is genuine or not. So a lot of these kind of use cases are possible in blockchain. Basically, any system where you think there is a deficit of trust, I think blockchain can fit in very well there.
Okay. What about the data privacy? Puneet? I mean, you said that a lot of data is coming in and data will be distributed into various places and it will be decentralized. But what about the privacy and what about security? So will the
Sure.
cybersecurity will also come into the place?
So the core of blockchain is cryptography, which is like a principle of cyber security in place. So when I say data gets stored in blockchain, it's not the raw format of data that gets stored. Since it's distributed, everything gets encrypted, and what gets stored in blockchain is the encrypted data, not the whole data as a whole. So this encryption is something that gets stored on a data on the blockchain. And it is like, for example, if there is 1 GB file or 10 GB file, I can represent that 10 GB file with a 256 bit of characters. So like bit, then byte, then kilobyte, then megabyte, then gigabyte. So like you can save such space by just storing that 256 bit data in the blockchain. So this is something that can be like there are encryption algorithms like SHA-256 and like a lot of these, which blockchains principally work on. And they use these kind of algorithms, encryption algorithms, to store the like the hashed or the encrypted data into the systems rather than the complete data. So with that, your data, so it people in the others, so let's say if you and I are transacting in, Mohit, Aditya, Rohan, or Sanjeet would know that okay, we both have done something, or I have shared some file with you, but they would not be able to see what are the content of these file. So they would only be able to know that something has been transferred between both of them on this day, on this time, at this point of second. But what is in it is something that is, like they would not be able to see it. And let's say if tomorrow I deny that, no, I did not share this file, I shared something else, even that would not be possible, because even if I just change a full stop in the document that I shared you, or even if I just trim 1 second, the 256 bit will be altered. So the 256 bit is very unique to what the file content is, not the file name or the file format. So if any content gets changed in that particular file, the entire 256 bit gets changed. So it is only unique if that exact content, what I send, is directly present and without any change. So hence it is not possible for me to also change any information, because if I change anything, the 256 bit gets changed.
I think that makes it secure also. Because in Google
Yes.
Sheets, suppose we change something, any shared people are there and someone is editing something, I'll just do the same. But if you are saying that this 256 bit character will change and that code will change, so automatically a new file, a new unique ID has been generated. So that's kind of security.
Exactly. Exactly. And hence blockchain, like one of the ethos of blockchain is security. So while the other tools are decentralization and, like scalability, the other thing is security. So this is like one of the ethos of blockchain.
Okay. Two terms, Punit, very much people talk about in blockchain. One is tokenization and one is DAO. Can you explain in brief what's the meaning of tokenization and what's DAO?
Sure. So I'm not very sure about how this will be relevant to the audience here, and but nonetheless, since you asked about it, so tokenization is nothing but, like let's say there are private limited companies who issue in their shares. So like people can, or public companies as well. Like any recently Zomato went with their IPO, or like Paytm went with their IPO, railways, IRCTC went with their IPO. LIC went with their IPO. A lot of these IPOs came in recent past. Uh, so what is happening basically is they have their shares, and they are now listing these shares for public to buy it. And previous to this, there might be private rounds. Zomato have been invested, like there are a lot of investors who have invested in Zomato. So there might be private rounds through which Zomato gave its shares to its investors in private way, not in public way. And then, they basically subscribe to these shares. Similarly, how crypto companies do it is they issue shares in form of tokens. So tokens are basically, like my shares, my company shares. So if I issue you tokens, you can buy my tokens, and in a way you're investing in my company. And then once, let's say, the token goes in public and it gets listed on exchanges, you can trade these tokens among different peers, and like that is the entire concept of cryptocurrencies. So my currency, I can launch own cryptos, and that represents in my project and my shares. And depends on project to project, you can decide who is building what is the use case that they are solving, what is the utility that they are building in, and you can invest in their projects. And after they go live, you can start selling and buying their uh, tokens or cryptos on different exchanges. So this is prima facie how I look at tokenization versus the stock market and the IPOs that comes in. So in a nutshell, this is like, in a very layman word, tokenization is something, like buying shares of a company. Now there are many complex instruments that comes on top of it. There are different types of orders that I can place to buy, to sell the entire tokenomics. Tokenomics is, let's say, 100% of the company shares. What percentage is to be allocated to whom? Should the 10-15% be with founders, the other 20% be it with team, the 40% to be with investors and community? So that is where the entire tokenomics come into place, like where uh, people or like mathematicians decide in what your company's ideal share should be and the share percentage should be, so that you are making it enough and there is enough out for people to for the project to make it big. And then the entire vesting period, all of these complex terms come into picture in terms of, let's say, if I am buying in tokens when can I start selling these tokens? I should hold it for like, let's say 2 years, which is called as a cliff period or a holding period or a vesting period. All of these different terms come into. This is like more on the economics side of cryptos.
And in the cryptocurrencies also, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so let's stay on the track of the blockchain career scope and entrepreneurship. I mean, so in the future trends, if any student or any
Sorry,
professional,
I still have to answer the second part of your question around the
yeah,
DAOs.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
Yes, so on the tokenization, this is about the tokenization. Then comes in about the decentralized autonomous organizations. So DAOs are, like organizations that are basically looking for democracy. So today, let's say Twitter wants to make a decision. Either Elon Musk can make it or the newly appointed CEO that he's going to appoint, they can make, or the other board or the leadership team can make it. But as users of Twitter, can we, like decide what Twitter should do in next? Can we decide what features should they launch? Can we decide what who to hire, who to fire? Can we decide what should be their customer support KPIs? Can we decide, like what Twitter as a company should be investing in, should be buying in, or should be working in on the next trends? No, right? But in decentralized autonomous organizations or the DAOs, companies are run by communities. So communities decide what next feature should the company be working on. Community decide, like should I be partnering with company A, should I be partnering with company B? Community decide whom should I be paying how much salary. Community decide if a so and so person gets to hire or not gets to hire. And basically there is no one person running the company, there is a community that is running that company. So this is kind of a and like how does decision takes place? People vote. So people vote on proposals, and if the proposal gets accepted, that gets implemented. So this is how basically the decentralized autonomous organizations work in.
So that's quite interesting today. So is there any organization that's working on video?
There are a lot. So you can maybe like try Googling in, and I think there are more
Yeah.
than 5,000 plus DAOs already present.
So that's quite interesting. I mean, a company which is run by communities by taking each and every kind of decisions, whether business operations or like in the human resources, everything. That's quite interesting. And yeah,
Yes.
so let's get to the thing. Like suppose a student or a professional who is into suppose web development, he is developing full stacks or he's developing into any other software development or app development. Suppose he wants to switch into something in the blockchain industry. He wants to switch it to the Web3. So, will it be still relevant, or what will be the future? In what industry will they stream towards? That will, let's say, healthcare or infrastructure or fintech. What industry will be the most proficient where they can be switching the jobs to? And a new student, how they can be targeted towards the block?
Sure. So how every company today, somewhere or the other way, says that they are an AI company, and like they start using AI in some way or the other fashion. Similarly, every company in the future would be a blockchain company as well. They would start using the bits and pieces and blocks of blockchain across all. So I believe every sector and every domain would start using blockchain in some way or the other in future. So relevance is not a question here. And when governments actually start picking up these use cases, that's when corporates and commercials definitely come in. What matters in is getting an understanding of the technology, starting to develop more on it. And let's say the early times of Android, like it used to be considered as very amazing and stuff, that you're able to develop mobile applications which people are able to touch, they're able to interact with it, there can be animations that can come out of it. Because previous to smartphones, we all used to be on the button phones, and like the interface was pathetic over there. So early days of Android developers, they were very in demand, and they were very like high paying opportunities as well. But now Android development is a very common thing,
Uh,
and like there are a lot of people around it. Similarly for blockchain, like people, I still believe blockchain is at the early stage. So people who are entering into the technology now, looking at development now, they have a potential opportunity to make good in the next 15 years. And then like every developer would be a blockchain developer as well, and this would be part of a regular application coming in place. So then it will be part and parcel of the system. And it's not that today Android developers are not valued. Android developers are highly valued, and people who come in with good experience, good infrastructure knowledge, understanding and all, they get better opportunities and better pays. So similarly would be in blockchain ecosystem.
Okay. So a sustainable career can be made into the blockchain. Either they are a student and want to make a sustainable career, or the professional if they want to switch into an industry or want they should basically it's a matter of reskilling and upskilling nowadays. Since
Exactly.
so many layoffs are going on, and industries are looking towards more and more profitability, more and more good opportunities. So they are looking to change the technology and build a new digital infrastructure to increase their profitability. They want to look for the candidates who can work 10x or who can work, very much efficiently. So the people need to reskill or either upskill. So that's why I asked you about this thing, that whether this blockchain industry will be sustainable and the career will be sustainable in this thing or not. So yes, definitely, as you mentioned that yes, it will be sustainable and in 10 to 15 years, it's early stage right now. So yes, in 10 to 15 years, there will be a sustainability. And
Yep.
okay, and what about the entrepreneurship? If anyone as a student, there are various students in various colleges. They started the company last year, last year, into the blockchain, and still a lot of people are there who wants to build some new stacks or some new things into the blockchain. Which particular field or which particular problem do they think they should solve by using the blockchain or Web3 in which sector?
I think the horizon is, like it is ocean of opportunities, ocean full of opportunities currently in blockchain. And like anything that you pick up, you might find an interesting use case of blockchain there. What I would urge people is not replicate existing application that is in Web2 world in Web3. Like decentralized WhatsApp, decentralized Amazon, decentralized Uber, decentralized Ola. Like if you're building something around it, like there has to be a solid use case of why decentralization in that particular like domain makes sense, and what is your plan of go to market. Like just launching a cryptocurrency and making quick money, or like just pumping the price would not make sense. There has to be a sustainable revenue model in place for you to make good business out of it, and for people to actually value it. Like uh,
Yes.
people should actually, users should feel that this is something that was missing, and this is something that is very important. And moreover, user experience in blockchain so far has been not up to, like there is a huge room of improvement in terms of user experience. Because today if you have to like interact with any decentralized application, you need to have in a wallet. For that wallet, you need to create a wallet, you need to have save the passphrase. There are 12 words that or mnemonics that you need to memorize or write it somewhere. And then you have to make a transaction. To make a transaction, you need to have a gas or a token in your account, and then you pay gas fees for making a transaction. And this is not a user friendly experience. So uh, like the applications that actually work on blockchain, but end user does not get to know that it is on blockchain. Seamless experience. Like today I did not have to teach my parents how to use WhatsApp.
Yes.
Like they just came in and started typing and start sending, and that's how it is. So you should not teach people how to use your application. Like that is like when I see any entrepreneurs making businesses in this space, if you're making any decentralized application or applications around cryptos, make it simple, make it real world use case. No, and like don't fall for short term, long term monetary value. Like build in something for a long term scenario. And question, like until unless you have 100 use cases for your crypto. Like apart from payments, like apart from okay, I am selling, let's say, pen on my product on my platform, and people can pay in my own tokens to buy this pen. Like that is not a use case. So apart from that, if you have 100 other use cases of using your tokens or your cryptos, only then think of launching in a crypto. For example, like if I have INR, I can literally tell you 100 use cases of using an INR. I can use INR to buy a pen. I can use INR to buy a McDonald's burger. I can use INR to book a cab. I can use INR for anything, like until unless you have 100 of these use cases, do not think of launching your project or of your token. Things can work in the existing space. You can still use existing cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon, etc., for your, ecosystem, and people already have this. People can easily pay, for services using these tokens. So a lot of people, get tempted to launch their own tokens, which principally I believe, until there are enough use cases, there is no use of launching another crypto.
That's great. Let's open the session for the Q&A. If anyone wants to ask any question, I think Mohit asked some question in the chat box also. Mohit, can you guys open your video sections also so that we can see all of you and we can participate very well. And if you want to ask any questions to Punit, either you can write in the chat or you can just speak it out.
Meanwhile, they turn on their camera and unmute. Like, I'll answer the Mohit's question. I have knowledge of Web 2. I have good background in application development with React and JS. What path should I follow to do to get an entry job in blockchain industry? What are the scope in India? Scope, Mohit, I've already covered in this session. Path, what you can do is you can try exploring web3.js as a library since you have a JavaScript background. And like you can start looking into development into like Ethereum blockchain, Polygon blockchain, all of these. Web3.js, I believe, would be the entry point, and a very similar language to JavaScript is something which is developed by Ethereum community called as Solidity, which is used to write smart contracts. So I think the journey could be first of all, like reading the Ethereum white paper, reading Bitcoin white paper, then reading Ethereum white paper, then looking at web3.js, and then Solidity. I think this will give you like basic understanding, and then sky's the limit in terms of what application do you want to build and what path do you want to pick up.
That's great. That's great. Guys, can we open the camera and have a great video session? Sorry, I'm coming up. Okay. I think many people are either into the traffic. Sorry, I'm coming back from office to end David because really. Okay. Okay, Puneet. So if anyone, Sanjeev, do you have any question? Aditya, anything you want to know about blockchain, either in the terms of startup or in the terms of career? Okay, Rohan has asked something. Okay. Puneet, did you got the question? Rohan has asked, like,
Can we see blockchain being used anywhere else than fintech industry or crypto coin industry? Because right now most of the companies, Rohan, I talked the use case about Walmart, and that is the supply chain use case. The insurance use case that I talked about, where like certificates, insurances, then like caste certificates were issued by Jharkhand government to the people of Jharkhand. Their caste certificates were given on blockchain. Telangana government has been using blockchain for land records. 60% of India's, courts are filled with, like litigations around land. This was my land, this was someone else's land, someone did a kabza, etc. So land records are now being moved to blockchain. You might be receiving SMS on a daily basis from various companies. You might have noticed that the message provider is like JP, hyphen, and let's say Big Basket, JP or JK hyphen Swiggy, or like all of these different like messages that comes in from recognized organizations. The process of getting yourself recognized is a blockchain based mechanism which Indian government has accepted in. And now companies who are enrolling themselves to get these names or to get these headers, that entire process of applying and accepting is on blockchain. So, like again, a real world use case which Indian government is using in. Now, like Bangalore airport has a mechanism, like where your Face ID acts in as your boarding pass. And, like you don't need to scan any boarding pass or anything. Your face is basically your boarding pass. So all of these kind of use cases, like they're also to securely store the information, blockchain is being used. So I think there are like tons and tons of use cases beyond fintech and beyond crypto. A lot of this does not come into mainstream media, since it's not very fascinating about, or there's no scam involved in here. There's actually like real world use case and real applications that are being built. But there are like amazing use cases. Firozabad police started accepting complaints on blockchain. So like just like uh, Google around, guys. Like you would find like hundreds and thousands of use cases of blockchain by like various departments across different jurisdictions.
Great. I think Puneet, when it comes to money and crypto, it was a lot talked in the past 2 to 3 years and 4 years that people just confuse the blockchain with the crypto only or anything related to money only. And that, like you said, that it's in the mainstream media and the other applications are not in the mainstream media. So it's not fascinating and generally don't be covered other than what various individual creators or the people who are experts or thought leaders in blockchain, they only share that thing. Otherwise, media don't cover these things. I have known various one company, True Scholar, which is very good in credential management that you mentioned. And but yes, the post and the things they are don't come into the mainstream media. But guys, blockchain has a very large ecosystem and very large opportunities, as Punit mentioned. So yeah, Punit, at the case of the end, anyone want to ask any other question? The chat is open. Any mantra that one line mantra that you can give to the audience today that they can follow to switch from 2.0 to 3.0?
A lot of people think, like crypto can give them like their 1,000 rupees can become an, like 1 crore rupees by investing in crypto. There's no shortcut to success, guys. So like I think that is one thing that I can talk about. And if you're entering into crypto industry, please do not enter if you're just here to make money. The system is full of people like this, and we do not need more. If you're really looking to build something and solve a real problem, only then consider in entering in. Else, we will make something out ourselves.
That's great. That's great. Okay. Thank you, Puneet, for giving us a very insightful session on the blockchain. Even I learned various things like the Walmart theory and the various other things that I was also not aware of. Thank you very much for giving us the guidance, giving us the insights about the blockchain. And I think the audience might have got very good understanding of that what blockchain is other than what media talks about. So real thing from the expert always matters. On that end note, uh, thank you very much, Puneet. And let's end this session at that particular end note.